This episode is going to be weird and winding, nonsensical and outright strange. But there is a message. It's dotted throughout, and maybe, just maybe, you'll glean some wisdom from words shared today. At least this is my hope for you. Enjoy the visuals, the grand stories, and the wild ride that is brought to you today, here in the Sadhu Da experience. Today's topic I am calling Guang Distilled. And what we're referencing is an explanation of Taoism. We often hear that that which is called the Tao cannot be the true Tao. And comically, though, yes, that is true, there's also a caveat to that. And so I am going to do my best in this episode to help break down and explain some of the deeper spiritual concepts that shroud the mystery of not just Taoism, but Buddhism and Jainism and even Hinduism as a whole, these Eastern religions. We're going to crack open the surface of it, and we're going to glean at what the center of the fruit offers to the taste of the mind and spirit today. We're going to begin by going over some parables that I've heard from my master, which is Sifu Yong. Dr. Wilson Yong is from Malaysia, and I've spent the last couple of years studying with him in Malaysia. And he is a high-ranking Taoist priest with his own temple that he runs out of his home. And he's quite an impressive individual and definitely a master by all rights. But that's not necessarily why I began to study with him and learn from him. It was more so the stories that he would tell and the deeper messages that were behind them. And a lot of times it helped me through certain stages of my life. And I'm hoping that whether big or small, no matter what the problems you're facing today, have faced in your past, or will come to face in your future, I hope something in this video will be able to help you. Two men were disputing over who was the rightful owner of the tiniest little patch of land that divided their properties. After years of arguments, name-calling, and petty pranks that led to fighting, they called upon a Taoist sage to be their mediator. The sage told them he would speak to the land and ask it about this troubling matter. He then lay down on the ground and dug his ear into the dirt. The sage remained planted for what felt like forever, and then some. The agitated neighbors began to bicker and anxiously fidgeted and kept asking over and over, "What does the land say? Who is the true owner of this patch?" After some time, the sage rose slowly and began to speak. "The land has told me that it does not belong to either of you. In fact, you both belong to the land. No more is needed. I bid you farewell." With that, the sage left. The neighbors, speechless, in awe and disgust, along with confusion, mouths hanging agape as the sage walked away. The interpretation for this parable is as follows. The sage, as a messenger, merely moves us with a deception, logic, tight turns, and wild rides, coming from a place of mundane nature to a deeper and more internal spiritual perspective. The story was never intended to be about what is fair and what is not. Despite the surface level story, it's not even about the neighbors or even the land disagreement. When the sage tells them they belong to it, and it is not to be decided upon which one of them is the rightful owner, he's actually telling us about our overall place in the grand scheme of the universal flow. We simply are a part of nature. No matter what stories we tell ourselves or what perspectives we adopt or ideals we hold, we cannot escape the simple truth that we are a part of nature. We follow universal laws and function within the web of life, whether kicking or screaming or chanting Om along the ride. We depend on nature and all it has to offer for sustainment and nourishment, our basic needs, and survival. In the Taoist perspective, no more is ever needed, although more may be always desired by the individual. Wanting more in life, wanting more from life, other than life itself, makes life more complicated, distracting, turbulent, and fettered. There is only ever the need to breathe and the need to be. The anxious and greedy, the miserable and the selfish. They chase away their lives in pursuit of evermore and never settle into the current of life itself. Hey everybody, thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and also for the full featured version of this episode,